Well, good afternoon and welcome to this session live from a cardboard cathedral. You can't make this stuff up. A cardboard Coventry cathedral, not on an industrial estate in Coventry, although it's symbolic. We're actually in the school playing fields of a fantastic school called Joseph Cash Primary. I don't know if can we zoom in on that, guys? If we get a bit closer, people probably think look, if I wave, can you see me waving? I don't know. Okay, let's zoom in, press the zoom in. Oh, here we go. There is life on that stage down there. There is some life. We've got some guests as well. We'll introduce them in a moment. Welcome to this session, which we're calling The Art of Festivals. The Art of Festivals, a festival for us, for me, is a gathering to celebrate our art, because art is creativity and tools and people. You could say tools or technology. Technology is only a tool that was invented after we were born. So a festival for us is a celebration of our art, of our creativity, of what it is that makes us human. And I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined in this session by two wonderful people. In fact, hopefully a few more turning up later on. But, we've got to make do with what we've got. And what we've got at the moment is absolutely fantastic, because that is Anita Bigsby from the Ludlow Fringe. Hello, Anita. Hello, Anita.
Hello there.
Do me a favour, don't ever just wave when I say hello, right? What I'm actually doing is asking you for a sound check subtly, and don't wave. I missed like 3 heartbeats there. And another chap who I haven't seen for a while, actually, certainly not in his smart clothes, and that's Steve Quah. Hello, Steve. How are you today?
I'm all right, Nick. Sound testing. 1, 2.
Yeah, you're a pro, aren't you? So I don't want to say you're from two ends of the spectrum, because you're actually both in the centre of all this for me, because you are both at the heart of creativity, at the heart of festivals and events like this. And I'd never done any of this before. I'd never done any of this before a year ago. And Steve's, I'm a bit worried, actually. I'll be honest with you, I'm actually eating noodles out of a Tupperware box because I forgot to have any breakfast. My son just came home from school and rang the doorbell and said, "Hey, mate, cook me some noodles, will you?" "No, do it yourself," and got his phone out, and that was that. And if you've got teenage sons, you'll know where I'm coming from on that. He's not actually as impressed as I was when I was asked to be the United Nations UK country champion for Britain. So I'm quite chuffed with that, whatever the significance of that means, and whether my son's proud of me yet or not. But a couple of days ago, I was in Dorchester at a fantastic school down there.
Everybody have a school that's amazing. This Prince of Wales School. Big round of applause for everybody at Prince of Wales School. My goodness, what an amazing school. Mr. Spracklen let me borrow the name Inspired to Learn. And I'm going to take it to every school in this country that will have me. Lockdown's been hard. A year ago, I lost all my work, no work at all, and I got myself a green screen. And now I've got 2. I can't find my little ones. Let me see my green screen. Behind me. Behind me. Where is it? It's not behind me. I can't see it anywhere. I can't see my green screen anywhere.
So yeah, that was me with a year ago. I didn't even have a green screen. I don't know how many of you guys have got between you or blue screens. Today I've actually got a house full of green screens, and I actually got one with a backpack on it now, so I can actually walk around with a green screen. So I can actually go to a festival and superimpose a graphic and pretend I'm at work. So I'm absolutely laughing. And I talk about making it up as you go along. I must admit, it's only when you go into a school you realise how much potential the gag it's behind you has got, because when the green screen's behind you and you turn around, it's never behind you, is it? It's always the other side. So, well, in fact, it's always behind you, but you can never actually see it. So that was a little bit of fun, and that was a session from a school called Prince of Wales School down there in Dorchester. And basically, everything they do in that school is about ensuring their kids are inspired to learn. And they gave us the idea for a 2-month tour of Britain. Over May, June, and July, we're going to be travelling to school communities all across the country, talking about something that's going to help those kids make a little bit of money, help those kids maybe make a few friends by playing, by making, by doing their art together, and hopefully helping make the world a better place by giving our kids the skills to innovate out of our environmental crisis, to innovate out of the health crisis, the political crisis, all these crises we've got. We've got to give our kids the skills to be those people. I'm just a dad. here I am with my two boys in the Guardian. They'd kill me if they knew I was showing you that picture now as well, so I better put it up full screen, hadn't I? Because there's another great dad on there, and that is Ricky Tomlinson. You probably know him off Brookside or The Royal Family. He's also known as one of the Shrewsbury, I think it's the Shrewsbury Seven, because they were imprisoned for trade union work for standing up for their rights and imprisoned in Shrewsbury. They were in 1972, I think, and I went there in 1979 with a band I was a roadie for, the Exhumed, and we actually did a gig in Shrewsbury Prison. So if you're watching, Ricky, it's not my fault if you got an extension. I'm sorry to your time there for allowing us into jail. So really, that's what we talk about. And we've got this Coventry metaphor today because Coventry Cathedral was burnt down in the war by incendiary devices. It was a beautiful cathedral where everybody sat still, looked at the art, and it was rebuilt with modern architecture alongside to inspire that community, to inspire the country, to inspire its kids, to show how you can rise from the ashes, as we indeed need to do now post-COVID. What a beautiful environment, what a beautiful place. And so we literally built a Coventry Cathedral from cardboard boxes in the playground of Joseph Cash Primary, and that in theory is where we're coming from today. And if you'll believe that, you'll believe absolutely anything, of course. So these are some pictures of the school which I wanted to flick through quickly because I just want to set the scene, believe it or not. This isn't just a complete pitch, a complete sales pitch. But I'd like to give these people a little bit of a clue as to what we're talking about, because what we're talking about today is art. Because art is what we call it when what we do might connect us to somebody else. So your art could be like Grayson Perry dressing up as a woman, throwing cakes at each other, if that's your art. And if you've seen Grayson Perry and his fantastic art club program, then you'll realise the power of what he's doing there and how important it's been. And if you haven't got this book, buy his book, which he's done with his wife there, Philippa Perry. Absolutely fantastic. Your art could be painting, it could be photography, it could be dancing, it could be design like Murad Meyerskoff, it could be DJing, it could be fashion like Victoria Beckham, it could be football like her husband David. If that's your passion, you're entitled to follow it because it might help you make some money, make some friends, make the world a better place. If you're a cook, I bet you love the Big Bake Off and cooking. Our kids get so much stress at the moment for playing games. Well, what we've got to encourage them to do is not just play games, but to create them, to learn those skills, the tech skills, the production skills, the CGI techniques, to learn to write the stories, to do the graphics, to do the marketing, because that's how guys like this ended up launching companies like Rockstar Games and being some of the world's most productive creative industry professionals. Your art could be, as you could say, like mine is, rockets. I fire rockets, I make rockets because that's what I quite enjoy doing, and it's what gets the parents involved, it's what gets the dads involved in the schools as well. And I loved Stevenson's Rocket, a story of a boy who was illiterate until the age of 15 because he went to work in a coal mine at the age of 5. He learnt to read, he read the manual of the steam engine in the coal mine where he worked and ended up inventing the steam loco. Robots, I'm not going to go into all that now, in fact that's all a little bit too rambly. Where's the bit I really wanted to get to? The bit I really wanted to get to is this, because why are we in Coventry? Well, this year, Coventry is the city of culture. Coventry is the UK city of culture this year, and we want to help that city celebrate their greatness. And that's why we have built a cardboard cathedral here in a playground to inspire that community to remember that. And we're going to build cardboard cathedrals in school communities across the country this year, because Coventry is the UK city of culture, and next year the whole country is a country of culture, because the UK government have announced the Festival UK 2022, which is a national festival of creativity, and they've commissioned 10 creative teams to do the smoke and mirrors, to do the big fireworks and the big sculptures and the community stuff. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to raise the funds to get £2 million together to put 22 people like me on the road, heaven forbid, to go out and run a grassroots version of that, to go into communities and tell stories, to do the art and to get those kids involved. Because last year when the Glastonbury Festival was cancelled and all these festivals were cancelled, we got a dad to build us a pyramid stage from cardboard and code and his creativity. And we ran a festival on a virtual stage down there in Glastonbury from a back bedroom in Paddington where I was living. And that's what we're talking about, using tech, using the tools that our kids have got. This is all done in Blender, which is a free open source 3D computer graphics package. So what I want to say today is that's the agenda, guys. We're talking about festivals, we're talking about human connectivity, we're talking about bringing people together to celebrate what it is that makes us human. Steve, in a sentence, because I know what you like when you get going, mate, tell us a little bit, tell us the name of your company and in a sentence what it is you do, and where you think you kind of fit into this world of creativity.
Yeah, Steve Kwa, I'm CEO of Cheerful 21st. We're a creative agency, but we specialize in brand experience and audience engagement, but for the corporate world. So we've got a corporate angle to the festival experience. And we've shifted a lot into the virtual space. And I must say, I love what you're doing here, Nick. It's fantastic.
And are you a parent by any chance?
Yeah, my daughter's just on the point of choosing between going to a university for graphic design and media in Kingston and LCC. And my son's at Solent doing sound design and engineering, who's 21. So, yes, I'm a parent like you, Nick. Wonderful.
Well, it's interesting. So you don't know how serendipitous that is, because my son has just been offered a foundation place at Kingston.
Oh, my God. See, my daughter's been in such debate about she's going to go Kingston. She's been very fortunate, got offered places at all the top unis, so Kingston's great. So we must talk offline about that. Kingston's lovely, by the way, isn't it? It's very nice.
I don't know, but there you go. That's the serendipity that I love here. And I also love the serendipity of Anita as well, because Anita, tell everybody where you're from and sort of little elevator pitch like that.
Well, I'm from Ludlow, which is in South Shropshire. Very rural town, little medieval market town, very pretty with a castle and the river and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that's where I'm from.
And tell us about the Fringe. Yeah.
So I run the Fringe Festival, which started up in 2013 after the sad ending of Ludlow Festival, which had run for many, many years. We started up together with them, but they folded, and we carried on, and we made it far more about our community. So we sort of like broadened access to it by sort of really getting schools involved and community groups and local artists and musicians, young writers, singers, dancers, everyone who could celebrate their creativity. So poets, writers, and we've just gone on from there really by getting bigger and bigger and becoming a part of the World Fringe Network. And so now we program all sorts of arts from local, so anyone of any age can get involved. But we also have quite a big international touring as well. So people come here from around the world, and I'd like that to grow as well. At the moment, it's obviously this year it's going to have to be online, any international involvement. But we have got an awful lot of local, regional, and national artists involved this year.
Fantastic. And obviously there are a lot of festivals, small, big, around the country that were decimated by the virus and the impact of that. Very short notice last year. I mean, 3, 4, 5 months. Obviously you're planning a year in advance, which is timescales I can't get my head around. What I'd like to ask you both really is how your business was impacted, or what you do. Describe briefly what you used to do and how you used to do it, Steve, and then how you've had to re-engineer yourself, because you're looking in good health. I imagine that you're the sort of entrepreneurial, resourceful guy who's come through this with some new tricks up your sleeve. So tell us a little bit about that, would you?
Yeah, I mean, when the COVID rock was thrown in our pond, our main service or product was live events. So whether it be a corporate conference, whether it be an exhibition, whether it be a trade fair, whether it be a party, whether it be an award show, it was a live space. But when COVID happened and basically all our events were literally just cancelled, we were fortunate because underpinning us is that we are a creative agency led by comms and strategy and ideas. And it just so happens we went from live and we went, virtual is just a new channel for us. And we had actually done quite a lot of virtual stuff over the years. It used to be called like webcasting and two-way satellite stuff. So we were quite comfortable in that space. And I fortunate to say that actually we've grown as an agency because we've embraced virtual and taken that kind of experience and the audience engagement piece for our corporate clients and taken that online very successfully. On the back of that, actually had opened up in New York 6 months ago. And I've developed, a rich portfolio of clients who have taken on the virtual event experience, and we've been very successful with that. So that's a huge impact. In essence, some ways our products completely changed, but in essence, some things are exactly the same. Still about good idea, still about creativity, still about being communicators and engaging, and embracing the technology. So we rode that wave. Like you're doing here, it's exactly that. You would have probably done this in person, and now you're doing it virtually, and it's successful. So that's what
I've just downloaded a little clip actually, Steve. Your show reel. Do you mind if I just play that to get a sense of what it is you do?
please.
And this is X-rated or anything. It's all quite safe because I haven't approved this yet, but we'll give it a go. Let's roll this video. Wow, blimey. I need to go and lie down now, mate. Blimey. I'm happy with the chewing gum and string, and I watch stuff like that. Goodness me. So there's a lot of hardcore tech going on in there, isn't there? Blimey.
Yeah, everything. And everything we showed you was a live experience. So we had to take that and put it online for a lot of our clients. So it's been a challenge, but an opportunity. So, and we love in person. In person will come back, and we love the whole festival side as well. So.
It's interesting because there's a lot of talk about sort of things like Mandalorian. I think I'm flashed with a green screen, and Mandalorian are now actually having video screens. That is the background to the screen. I guess that's because the quality is so amazing. Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, Mandalorian uses a technology called XR, extended reality, which we use in a smaller scale for some of our virtual sets. And as you say, basically, it's a massive high-def video LED screen behind the actors. So instead of green screening it like you're doing here, the Mandalorian does it with actually the pictures around them, because it's that clever now. So again, there's been a massive acceleration in the tech space, but also I think it's been a lot of creative thinking around how we use tech and actually use it for purposes that it probably wasn't designed for, because it's there. And I think part of any creative service is understanding the digital solutions that within that kind of suite of magical stuff that can be stitched together, which is fascinating. Yeah, it's TV, it's broadcast, it's gaming, it's stuff you haven't thought of before, and it's a tech piece, but again wrapped in creativity, wrapped in an idea,
amazing,
wrapped in purpose.
Amazing. So Nita, beat that. I'm joking. As I said, I think one of the reasons I'm glad to have Steve on here, I know he's both fairly humble and very generous in his approach to stuff. There's a lot of elitism in the creative industries and very snobby attitude. We tried to pitch for the festival 2022, and I wish I'd remembered to give you a call, Steve, actually, because I emailed about 6 or 8 big agencies. I'm not going to name them, the big classics who do all the big opening ceremonies, and they weren't even in their office. There's somebody on the phone. They wouldn't return calls. They had no interest, and that's fine. They're obviously busy doing their own thing. But Anita, give us. Steve's at the cutting edge of tech with his video walls and green screen, and although he obviously didn't have one at home, but let's not go into that. Anita, what's the lowest tech thing you've ever done in one of your productions?
Low tech. The lowest. We do a lot of. There's no tech.
Well, okay, give us a no tech example then.
Well, we make things, and we would make. We won't even fire. We did a lovely thing year before last with clay sculptures, and it was based on it was sculptures on the green, on the Millennium Green, where we got kids to make little clay figures that were based on local carvings, wood carvings, misericords, gargoyles, that sort of thing. And then we got them to bring them to there was about 480, I think it was, which they brought down to the Millennium Green and sort of posted into little nooks and crevices and little areas. So they were sort of hidden into the rocks and that. But they said they weren't even fired. So the idea was that they would, you know, when it rained, yes, they did go back to the earth. And so it was a very green project, a very lovely sort of lowest tech you can go, really, I think.
Well, I know Steve's not into the tech for the sake of the tech. I know that Steve's very much about finding out what the customer wants, what his client wants to do, what their audience wants to see, the experience they want to create, a strategy that in the right business, and I know Steve's around this, is grounded in their audience, whether it's the mass consumers or the people at the audience sitting in a room. So what I'd love to do now, I worked in a co-creation agency for 2 or 3 years where we'd bring big minds together to solve problems for big organisations, for charities, for, fun enough, the old Vic, the young Vic, we came up with a strap line for them. There's a big world in here, which is quite relevant today, and it dragged people in. Anita, you mentioned something the other day, which was an idea around snails. And I know that's got some lovely angles. Now I know Steve's going to love this. Talk to us about that snails project, the audience, and the geotagging idea that you chipped in, because I know that's going to set Steve on fire.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, we were going to start out with just a nice basic idea of making snails as part of a bigger project that we've got at the moment, which is sort of Echoes in the Landscape, inviting artists to respond to that title in different ways. And we were going to work in schools, care homes, and different organisations to create snails and at different sizes, you know, but to paint them up brightly coloured, but to then have like a massive hide and seek. And they could literally go anywhere in the world now and to be found, because I mean we're surrounded by forests and fields and beautiful, beautiful landscapes. I mean, it'd be nice to get people out into the landscapes, but to hide the snail somewhere. And we want to use a geo mapping tool called What 3 Words, which I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's What 3 Words has divided the whole planet into 3 meter square grid. So you've got 9 square meters, 3 by 3, sorry. Every 9 meter square grid has got 3 words assigned to it. So whatever 3 words they are, you will find that place exactly there. So it'll be right in the middle of a field. It could be in the middle of the woods. It could be by the side of the river. It could be on the other side of my living room here, where, you know, one side has got a different 3 words to the other side. So it's a fabulous tool. It would be really lovely to use this to create like a massive hide and seek. What are you putting up there? Is that the What 3 Words?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it. That's a really nice way of getting young people to engage in technology and art as well. So looking at geomapping is quite interesting. It would be nice to get older people as well. So if we've got them working together and with a hashtag, they can find their piece of work anywhere.
Would the challenge be to find the most unusual global position for a snail then on top of Mount Everest or in the Amazon, or is it more find a message?
I'm getting terrible feedback now. I can't.
So am I. I was hoping it was just me, actually. There's a weird audio thing going on, isn't there?
That's right to myself. Is that okay?
Does it all sound all right to you, Steve?
Yeah, it sounds fine.
Strange.
I can. Mine sounds okay, and I can hear you, Nick, but I can't hear Steve.
There's like a weird squeaking, isn't there?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just going to check my bandwidth here. We have had outages in the past. No, I'm running at full speed. Steve, could you do me a favour and close the call and come back in again?
Yeah, sure. No worries.
Are you hearing an echo on my voice as well, by any chance?
No, your voice is fine.
Okay.
I'll come back. I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah, it was weird, Anita. I was. Sometimes it just happens at my end because my computer's struggling because it's doing so much crunching. But if it was happening for
It
you,
was when you started putting up the What 3 Word screen. That was when it started.
that's a
Maybe it
good
didn't
point,
like-
isn't it? Let's get rid of that then. Okay, I'll kill
Hello.
that completely. Oh, crystal clear, mate. It's like sort of record to end to CD. It's brilliant, the difference.
Hello. Is that better?
Yeah, carry on. I think one of the
I didn't
things
do anything.
I know you didn't. I think it might have just been my system resources when I pulled that screen
That's
grab
right.
up.
I like this 3-star. It's good effect. So I was asking the question: Is it going to be a challenge for like the most unusual finding of a snail, some random top of Mount Everest or on the moon? Was that part of the excitement piece?
I think we wanted to see how far the snails would travel, how far the snail trail
Yeah,
could
we
go as well. It could be
But
really
these aren't
interesting.
live snails, are they? These aren't live snails. These are snails you're making.
No, they're going to be made snails. They're going to be
Okay.
made from clay and
So
painted
it'll be
with
very slow
acrylic.
GPS.
But I think what's particularly lovely here, Steve, is the fact that this is an intergenerational project, so that these snails could be made by school children with elderly people in care homes, with their grandparents, with their parents. So it's a creative project that can work across those generations, which I think is really, really powerful. And I know it's an idea that Anita's very keen to develop, and with respect to Anita, her skills are in organisation. She's got a very specific art sector of her own. Remind me, Anita, is it painting you do? Is it painting? I can't remember.
I'm a sculptor.
Sculpture, that's right, fine art sculpting. But I think if you've maybe got half an hour with some of your team, just get a little Zoom call together with Anita, chuck a few ideas around. It might be quite. Would you be up for that?
Totally.
And I'm sorry to put you on the spot with that, but I just know that I've been in that corporate world with you, and sometimes just to, it can almost be a bit of a head clearing opportunity for creators like you to do something that's not to do with banking or transport or environment or energy. But if that's not cool, just do say.
No, we'll take you up on that. Thank
Oh,
you.
that'd be lovely. We'd like that. I think we could do with some of your technical expertise as well in certain areas.
Well, every Thursday we have a thing called Thursday Soup, which is an hour session where kind of anyone comes along with anything to do around things they've seen, things they've done. It'll be a subject. So I think we could line it up with a session to meet the whole team.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, we'll have to. We'll do that.
What else have you got lined up, Anita? That maybe Steve can sort of get you a sort of number one hit single at this rate. I don't know.
Well, we've got quite a lot of Shakespeare. I'm talking at that end of things as well, but we are using outdoor stages, and we're using a beautiful Stokesay Court this year as one of our venues. It's a new one to us, and it's where, if you know the film Atonement, it's where Atonement was filmed.
Wow.
Beautiful house, beautiful grounds, beautiful lake, and we've got some beautiful shows on there as well. We've got A Midsummer Night's Dream. We've got a tale of Peter Rabbit and Benjamin Bunny. We've got King Lear there, the film orchestra. So they're going to be lovely. Metaphor dance. They're going to dance within the space as well. And also we're going to have a sculpture trail there. So this is, where we're going to really try and expand this this project of echoes in the landscape, which we want to try and connect up with potentially. I think it's a project that's going to grow, and that we can work with our partners in World Fringe as well, because we would like to sort of break down those barriers, break down the borders, break down the barriers to sort of artists sharing work across borders. So we're very keen to probably work with technology, actually, in some respects, in maybe not so much this year, well, certainly for the sort of like live streaming and things this year, but it is something we would really, really love to do, to work, across borders there. Apart from that, I mean, we have a massive sort of like, we always have lots of comedy theatre, as I say, poets. We've also got we've got another art trail all around the town as well. So we use pop-up venues. We use people, work with our local businesses, local organisations, local galleries, so that everyone gets a chance to be involved in the festival. And there's normally about 1,000 people get involved over 2 weeks festival. The majority a lot of those are local. And we bring in about 12,000 visitors. Well, maybe not 12,000 visitors,
Wow.
but we have about 12,000 in audience over the over the 2 weeks normally. So it's quite popular. It's such a lovely little town. Like you say, we are growing and attracting that bigger audience all the time. So we've got plenty of things on, but we use the brewery, which is a lovely place to put on some great events in our Ludlow brewery. So we have fantastic beer, fantastic comedy, great music, great bands. What could be better, really?
I should actually stress, Steve, that Ludlow is my hometown as well. So one of the things I want to do, my dad, I think it's fairly true to say Anita was fairly active in the community with Mum, wasn't he? Before they got quite old. And one of the things, one of his biggest contribution to me actually was he found, where am I going? He found this book in the Oxfam bookshop he volunteered in, Rocket Boys, about 4 boys in West Virginia in the 50s. They didn't want to be coal miners in a dead-end coal mining town, so they looked to the sky, they saw the Sputnik. The teacher gave them a book, Mum encouraged them, Dad gave them some encouragement at the end of the day, and ended up working for NASA. And basically what I want to do is to do an evening of talks about how parents can inspire their kids, how they can support them. I mean, you've got a daughter who's going into the creative industries, and that's not by fluke, because the majority of parents actively discourage their kids from going into the creative industries because they think they're wishy-washy jobs. Now, let's face it, that we don't like the fact that people think that, but we also know that with parents like us, they've got a slightly better chance than a kid in the Rhymney Valley that we were in this morning down in South Wales. So I think we have to be realistic about that, but also accept our responsibility to help those kids in any way we can as well.
Absolutely.
I'll just say that my background was as a lecturer, and I was actually a lecturer at Ludlow College for many years. And yes, every year, new students, the first parents' evening, parents saying, I don't really want them to go into the arts because there's no work in it. And I used to be, really armed with a really good sort of set of statistics about how 1 in 5 people are actually employed in the creative industry in this country now. And that's quite high, really. And there's also the broad range of employment opportunities within the arts and the creative industry. It's
absolutely. I mean, I was horrified when I first heard that statistic. I think it was something like 30% of parents actively discourage their kids from pursuing creative industry career pathways. Now, I'll be honest, today's been nerve-wracking. I had a tyre blowout the other night, so I had to stay on longer than I wanted to down in Dorchester, which meant I live streamed to Aberdeen yesterday. This morning I was up at 7 o'clock, realised there was a What Next meeting we were talking about, Anita, so I went in on that. And there was a chap in that, actually, who I've got the maximum amount of respect for, a chap called Jeff. And I just saw him a minute ago, and he's now disappeared again. So I don't know if I'm going to have to keep talking or if I've missed my time slot. Because
I can give you a little anecdote.
I got me worried. Because one thing I'd say is that one thing you can set your watch by are a particular genre of people who I've done what I can to support, what I can to advocate for. And that's this chap here, Jeff Barton, who represents what I call #brave school leaders. And these are school head teachers who do what they know is right. They do what they can for art and creativity because they believe in the power of that to inspire kids in their learning, which is why we have this festival, the Inspired to Learn 21 Tour and Festival. They believe in the power of art to give kids opportunities, but more importantly, to help them live a full life. And Jeff has been an absolute rock to us. He spoke at our event in King's Cross a couple of years ago, and I'm so delighted to welcome everybody. Jeff Barton, who is an utter legend. He's probably on press calls all day and in and out of Zooms. Jeff Barton, welcome, and thank you so much for finding a few minutes to join us today.
No, thanks very much for asking me. I mean, I think we're at a period when suddenly the echo chamber of education has had other people looking in on it. Parents, for example, recognising that schools are about far more than EBAC and the community dimension of all of that. And I think that some of the language which is being used about catch up all the time and the COVID or even the lost generation and all that, deeply unhelpful. And I go back, you can tell I like books, can't you, here, to this crowd. These were the evacuees of the Second World War, many of whom, not all of whom, many of whom, during 3 evacuations, had their eyes open to a different world, to different ways of speaking, of living, and so on, and felt enriched by it. And what I hope is that if there is such a thing as the COVID generation of young people, they think we were there and we went back to schools that welcomed us, but which recognised that it isn't all about extra English and maths, important as English and maths of course are. It's about the other stuff, the stuff that gives us a deep sense of humanities, the things we do in the classroom, the things which happen outside the classroom. But I will be better at my maths if I'm playing in an orchestra. I will gain discipline from doing dance, which will help me in my geography and whatever. And that's always been, I think, a rich part of the UK education tradition, but it looked as if that was being lost, partly because it didn't seem important enough to certain members of the Department for Education and the government, and partly because funding cuts make it very difficult to keep an A-level dance course going. So let's hope we don't default back to that rather minimalist, reductionist deficit model, and instead say, if we've learned anything, it's our schools are communities. It's about young people working with other young people. It's about the older generation saying, here's what we believe in, here are our values. And one way you express those are through the power of the arts. So I'm very glad just to drop in before I go off to the next thing to say all power to your elbow on all of that. And I think we'll have people who might have been skeptics about all of that, who will now be less skeptical about it, and who'll see that that fundamentally is what education ought to be about.
Thank you, Jeff. I mean, you've missed the introductions here, but very briefly to introduce you to these 2 people on the panel here today. Anita Bigsby is the co-founder and CEO of a fringe festival called the Ludlow Fringe, which grew from the ashes of Ludlow Fest. I don't know if you're familiar with Ludlow and the Ludlow Festival. I suspect you might. I know you know my family are from East Anglia, but they now live in Ludlow. And Anita, would you like to tell everybody our sort of news today, which I'm quite excited about?
What's that?
Oh, go on. You wind up.
What news is that then, Nick? Is that you might be going to be our patron?
I've just been asked if I'd be the patron of Ludlow Fringe Festival, Jeff, and I'm sure you can imagine that makes an old man like me very, very happy, and is, if you like, an endorsement of the effort and that we've put in together as a team, because I'd be nothing without the support of you and your colleagues in school leadership, teachers, the whole creams, the whole communities. And so I'm delighted about that. We're brainstorming ideas for that festival, Jeff, today in this session, because that's very much a grassroots festival that tens of thousands of people get involved with in the past by going to Ludlow to buy the sausages, to go around the castle. But last year they reimagined that using online, using Zoom, using video technologies, using all these Eventbrites. And this year we're going to run a hybrid event. So it won't just be the tens of thousands that come to the town. It will be people all over the world. And Steve runs one of the country's biggest and most high-profile events organisations. The sort of creative industry companies that you dream some of your young people would go to. Those young people you've worked with in Bury St Edmunds, you know, had a passion for performing arts. Those people you know had a passion for technology, a passion for doing something that wasn't necessarily academic. Because I know you're one of those school leaders that helps kids find their element, as Ken Robinson used to call it, find their art, whatever it is. And they're going to collaborate together to develop ideas for that festival. Now, you're not here just because we were desperate to squeeze Jeff Barton into any old event we could. You're here today, Jeff, for a very good reason, because you've announced a festival this week. Could you maybe, and I heard you mentioning this morning, and it was, my goodness, it was music to my ears, and I know it's going to be to these two. So before you dash off, could you just give us a summary of that event you've just announced, please?
Sure. It seemed to us, against that background of a language of deficit, that what would be really good is, instead of people talking about and characterising young people as the lost generation and stuff, why don't we hear from young people themselves? And therefore, one of the things that we've proposed is that during the coming weeks, as young people have now returned to their schools and their colleges and their alternative provision, when they're doing their dance lessons, their drama lessons, their music lessons, their art lessons, their English lessons, why don't we try and capture some of that? Why don't we take photos of it, or why don't we film some of it? And why don't we, on the 28th of May, which is the Friday before half term, why don't we have a festival of school and college arts in which the voice of young people is what fills Twitter and social media, instead of the usual snarkiness, that we give them a chance to say, here we are, proud, resilient, creative. Let our voices come through, and we're just encouraging schools and colleges across the UK, if they'd like to take part in that. There's no real workload to it, to take part in it. And the response we've had across all the teacher unions and other organisations, across the National Governance Association, the Association of Colleges, the Sixth Form Colleges Association, arts organisations, is what a simple but great idea. It's great for those young people that their voices will cut through, but also it sends out a message to the wider society. The arts matter more than maybe we realised. And as we are lifted from the box like the Blue Peter tortoise, blinking into a more optimistic future, let's make sure we aren't marginalising the arts and their absolutely central state. So, Nick, that's it. I have to disappear.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
What we're trying to achieve.
I think Patrick Otley O'Connor's tortoise needs to be the champion of this festival, don't you? Based on that analogy, Jeff.
We're free in my time.
Here's to the golden generation. Thank you so much. And anything we can do to support that is the thing about you, Jeff, is you're a collaborator. You know, you're not one of those head teachers that thinks they know everything. You look out for the best and you bring it into school communities. And I know that your colleagues stand by you, and I know your parents and communities. Thank you so much. I know you've got to crack on. We'll be in touch. Thanks, Jeff Barton. Fantastic.
Thanks for inviting me.
Means
Good
a
luck
lot.
all.
Cheers, Jeff. Bye-bye. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, when you've got somebody at that level collaborating and offering support, I mean, it's just wonderful, isn't it? What are your thoughts to that, Steve?
Yeah, amazing. And just want to say, I am one of those kids, because I didn't actually leave with lots of qualifications, but I was very good at art. And in the days of woodwork and metalwork and technical drawing, those are things I loved. And actually, I got a job as a trainee graphic designer. And now I'm CEO of a public listed company. So, you know, and at the heart of it is creativity and loving to do things and make things. So, and I am, like you, saddened by the school approach. Even my daughter's school, where they shut the woodwork and the metalwork department, they've shut all these departments down. Huge emphasis in academia. It's important, but also creativity is just as important, and life skills and imagination and telling a story and making something that didn't exist before, and it's there. And that's kind of what we all do in our creative services, whether it be for a client or someone paying for a ticket for a festival. But going back to that, a massive advocate, and I think absolutely it is underinvested, undervalued, and under-recognized. To me, it's the most important thing. And as an employer, and you hear a lot of things about emotional intelligence and IQ. Actually, it is actually how they present, how can you present, and what's the work ethic. And also, that's a good idea, and they come from anywhere. That's it. That's the beauty of it. Like myself. So I'm a massive advocate, and Nick, I'll be seeing more of you, mate. So
well, fantastic. Thanks a lot.
You've got a supporter there from our agency, absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Some initiatives. Yeah.
Anita, very, very quickly, I'm trying to get Chris Tofu. I'm just texting him now, and we'll sort of give it another 5 minutes if you can hang around for another 5. But Anita, what are your thoughts about the roles of school communities, leaders like Jeff there, and what he was just saying? What are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was fabulous, actually, and he's absolutely right. We've just lost so much access to creativity in schools because they're so, the demands from just curriculum don't seem to allow for that space as much as it should. Every child has a right or needs to create, and I think perhaps more so now than ever, because there's so many, so much they can learn from it, so much. And I think all careers in life just demand that you be creative, isn't it? You have to be able to adapt and to just to be creative, to sort of think creatively, just to be that person that can stand up with ideas and be proud of them as well, and adapt all the time.
It really is something, isn't it? I've just had a message from Chris Tofu, actually. I don't know if you you both been to Glastonbury, I assume, have you?
Of course.
I don't know if you've been recently. Shangri-La. So Chris is the music director for Shangri-La, and he's just wonderful. And he's just told me that they're actually basically they did a massive thing last year with Sansar and their VR technology. So they built a whole nightclub festival in VR headsets and stuff. And I haven't got a VR headset, so I didn't really appreciate it. My laptop was struggling with it on a laptop. But it's an interesting model because they've gone down this route where you literally are controlling an avatar, so you dance out of tune, because I don't think any software engineers developed an avatar that can dance to a beat. And I must admit, I heard a song the other night, actually. I was in a school in Dorchester and they played that, remember that song, Jump Up by Daddy Mac here? Do you remember that with the Jackson 5 thing? And I just took me back to those vibes. And I don't know, it's the whole VR thing doesn't really quite work for me as much as it does for some people, but you can certainly see where it's going, because dancing in a nightclub with some geek with a banana on his head, and a robot face, it doesn't really do it for me. I don't know about you, Steve, but I think the time will come. And for me, what is special, though, it's easy to look as an outsider looking into those experiences, but when you're there, if you make a connection with another human being by a text message, via audio, by video, or because they've got a banana on their head, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, isn't it? And it's about all these platforms finding their place. I've been desperately trying to run green screen discos all year, where we've actually got people, they can Skype in on a green screen, as you have now, and actually dance on the stage set that we've built here in Coventry. So over on the other side there, we've actually got a big stage, and I wanted to do a disco on there. But it was all a bit of a nightmare making it happen. That's going to happen one day, because I think that's another way that people can just come in and pull some moves on stage anywhere in the world. But I think we've all been let out now, so I think we're a bit done with all that virtual stuff. But the bottom line is that Chris is actually on a US conference call with all the Sansar people and all the Shangri-La crew. I don't think he can get out. I just ask him when he's going to be done. But while we do that, I'm actually just going to put a little video up, which for me just sums Chris Tofu up absolutely perfectly. And then I think we'll probably wrap up if we can't get him on. I'd have loved a bit of his magic on here today, but let's have a look. Say something, you two. Go on, Steve. What's in your mind?
I think you're quite right about VR. I think everyone's trying to replicate things. I think when we talk to our clients about new technology, it's just different, and therefore there are new things to discover and new things to create around that. And I think the VR comparison about trying to do an in-person experience, there's a place for it. I think, as you say, there's still stuff to be developed, but I think it's always about being, what could we do next with technology? How can it enable things? Because underneath everything that we are doing is a digital disruption. Transformation is a jargon that a lot of our clients use, but it is just affecting everything, and that's a great enabler, I think, on the creative services side. Things like this.
Oh, hang on, sorry. Oh, that's an annoying feature of this software. Auto plays stuff if you're not careful.
Well,
sorry about that.
You could have done this like 2 years ago on your own. You would have needed a very expensive suite and technicians. So again, it's
mad, isn't it? I'll be honest with you. What I'm doing on my own is not for the faint-hearted. I can assure you.
I know you're doing backstage. You're doing about 10 things and concentrating, presenting. I'd say admirable. I know. I usually have about 10 crew doing what you're doing. So anyway.
It's funny because I usually have a GoPro and I couldn't find my little USB HDMI converters. I usually hold a GoPro up and show people what's going. In fact, I'll take a little selfie now. Actually, here again, I'll post it I'll post it for you. So this is here we go. There we go. I'll send you that later on. That's the craziness that's going on in here. But yeah, I mean, it's I'm going to try and play this now without that actually flipping out again. There's so many places that you have to turn auto play off. I just need to. It's like a bunch of tech people in this Facebook group said, "What the hell are you doing that live? You must be mad." And I said, "Whatever. If we can't give our kids the inspiration to do this, who else will we?"
It's got great energy. Nothing like live, in my opinion. Anyway.
So check this out then. This is a little film I made last year. We did an event at London Waltham Forest, which was Borough of Culture. And we did a pop-up event there with Chris Tofu, the guy who's going to see now, Sam Taylor Wood, what's his name? Sam Taylor something or other, who's the creative director now of the festival UK 2022. He spoke. Shanine Bathia was supposed to come down from Coventry, but she was ill at the last minute. And we had Charlie Phillips, who is the photographer for the Windrush generation, who has been underrepresented, overlooked. He actually had a picture of Jimi Hendrix at a party in 1970 something, and nobody'd publish it because he's a black guy nobody'd heard of, and they ignored him and they ignored his photos, and he's just been recognised in the papers. I mean, if there's ever anybody who needs an OBE, it's that guy, Charlie Phillips. So check this out for a bit of dust blowing out. That's Chris Tofu.
We've come a long, long way together, through the hard times and the good. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should.
Welcome to my life, making little trailers like that on my iPhone. I just got to start working out how to get paid for it. That's the only challenge now, I'm feeding my family. But Steve, Anita, it's just been amazing, because I think that little trailer there captured very much the essence of what we're talking about here. That human connection. I mean, that little lad there is from Camp Bestival a few years ago and had a big spin painting. That's a mate of mine, Phil Hartnell, I used to hang out with years ago. He's got a band called Orbital. And if you've ever seen them at Glastonbury, you've certainly lived. And that lady there's face, I mean, that is the face of Hull 2017. You know, this is what this is about. And this is what, Anita, I'm so proud to accept that invitation to be patron for the Ludlow Fringe this year, because that's what it's about. It's about putting smiles and awe on people's faces like that. That generation there, that lady, as much as a young child, as much as a parent, we've got to bring this whole country together with art, because art is what we call it when what we do connects us. Last closing line from each of you before we knock it on the head. Steve.
Creativity is magic.
That'll do me. I'm having that. Anita.
Well, I think I'm taking from this that I really need to update my technological skills and bring more.
Yeah, green screen.
I don't think you do at all. I really don't think you do at all, because you've got me as patron, and we'll sort out what you need to do. There's no tech to worry about.
Lovely to have more access to just a wider, inspirational sort of platform that technology can be. Because it's not always easy to access that, is it?
Well, I would hope
in the community.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'd kind of hope that what we've done today, live streamed, live and direct, from a cardboard cathedral in a school playing field in Coventry, is show it's not just about the technology, but it's what we do with that. It's how we enable our young people, our children, to live their creativity, the creativity they were born with, to not have it taught out of them, but we have a responsibility to help them thrive with those skills that they were born with. So thank you both very, very much. I can't thank you enough for your support today, and let's catch up very, very soon. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Nick.
See you soon. Bye bye now. Cheers. And thank you all for watching. We'll be live again, I think, I don't know what time it is, 6 o'clock, I think. See you then. Good night.